Greetings, NFL fans. Today is Monday, January 19th, 2015. This is the Shutdown Corner Podcast. I am Kevin Kaduk, here with Jay Busbee and a just off the airplane from Seattle, Frank Schwab. That was a hell of a game you saw, Frank.
Unbelievable. I haven't looked at a win probability chart yet. You know what these are. Most people do. I imagine when Morgan Burnett caught that interception with 5 minutes left, it had to be 97, 98.
Right? You know what? That's an excellent. I looked at one. You're dead on. It was 3.9%, I think, when he caught that interception.
And I know we'll get into the game, but just that play, just bringing it up reminds me, like, when he caught, I'm in the press box, and we post a game story right as soon as the game is done. So I'm kind of working on that already because you can't write 600 words in 2 minutes. It just doesn't work that way. And so I'm paying attention to the game. It's 19-7. I'm not totally in tune. Morgan Burnett catches the ball and slides down, and I'm like, oh my God, there's like 30 seconds left. Really? This is what I thought. Like, I thought there was like 5 minutes left. Oh my God, there's like a minute to go. And I looked up at the clock, and I'm like, why did he slide down with 5 minutes to go? And they're like mobbing him on the ground. He had, I hope the coach's film is up on NFL Game Rewind because I'll tweet it out or something. He had literally 20 yards in front of him. And if he takes the right path against the right block, he could go for a touchdown. That's the play nobody's really talking about. That it was almost like the Packers as a team said, if we get a stop here, we win the ball game, it's over. Morgan Burnett caught that ball. I don't think he does that on his own. It's not a natural thing. So he slides down, and it's like, oh, the Packers think they won this game, and then obviously they didn't win the game.
But you didn't think the same thing? I'm just looking when he intercepts that, and I didn't think that much of it because I said it didn't seem to me like the math was working out. The Seahawks weren't moving the ball. Every time Russell Wilson put the ball up, it seemed like it was getting intercepted. So I was completely writing them off. I'm tweeting off from Shutdown Corner, my personal account, like, oh, the great news about this is that Russell Wilson will have the next 2 weeks to make 80 more commercials before the Super Bowl. There's a lot of tweets that a lot of people would like to have back, probably from that 10-minute window right there.
My thought was, what is he doing? There's still 5 minutes left, and then basically thinking, it's not going to matter anyway. I mean, that's kind of what I thought. So I didn't have any premonition that this was going to be like kind of the play that I would look back at as like, the Green Bay Packers really let up.
Let me ask you this question: so when you're in that position and you're writing a running game story, there's times where even if a team is making a comeback, you try to keep and salvage your lead, whatever it is, because you need to get down to the locker room and there's so many things to do. At what point did you say, I just need to just get rid of all of this and start over?
It's funny. I had the whole thing written, and my lead was that basically the Packers did to the Seahawks what the Seahawks do to everybody else. Their defense just killed them. And up until 3 minutes left in the game, that was absolutely accurate. And then, they give up that long pass to Lynch, and then Russell scores, and I'm still thinking, I'm fine. This is, it's going to be okay. And then they get the onside kick, and I literally, we have a publishing system. I made sure that I didn't even have that draft saved. I didn't want that, like, hit the wrong button and echo out because I knew that it changed at that point. Because at the onside kick, even if the Packers win, you kind of have to change it to say they held on, and this is what happened on the last drive.
Now, do you think that he possibly hit the ground just out of fear of fumbling? We saw that in the Cowboys-Lions game, that he might have just been panicked, or do you think that was a preset play?
I don't know. I mean, maybe he was worried about fumbling, but he's not a defensive lineman. I really think that the Burnett play, that I think that he just got caught up in a moment. I just think, oh my God, we've won. I think that they really thought that at that point. I know you're never going to get that honest answer, and everybody said in the Packers locker room, no, we never thought we had it won. They're a good team, 60 minutes, blah, blah, blah. But I can't wait to look at – because in my mind, watching that play, in my mind how I remembered, he had yards and yards and yards to go. I mean, he could have ran 20 without breaking a sweat, and that changes the field position. It changes how much time the Seahawks needed. It just kind of changes the whole outlook at that point.
There were so many things to pin blame on for the Packers, whether it was Mike McCarthy, some of his decisions early on, not going for it from the half-foot line or whatever it was, and somehow it's all getting piled on Brandon Bostic, who has now become the Steve Bartman of Green Bay Packers.
Yeah,
which is
I feel bad. But the problem with Bostic, it wasn't just a normal fumble. I didn't know this until I got I'll be quite honest. Everything's happening a million miles an hour, and I didn't watch every replay. I didn't realize till I watched when I got back to my hotel room really how badly he screwed that up. I mean, really, like I thought that it was one of those where it kind of is coming right at him, and your thought process is, okay, it's coming right at me. I got to catch this. If you watch a replay again, Jordy Nelson's right there. He's going to catch the ball. Yeah. That's his job. Brandon Bostic's job is to block. And he said this. He admitted it afterwards. I thought he was really stand-up. It was very sad. I mean, I know that he was dealing with a lot, but I'll give him credit for standing up. But he admitted, that's not my job. I didn't do my job. My job is to block. I kind of panicked and thought I could make a play on the ball, and I just dropped it. And if you watch the replay, it's true. I think that's why he gets more heat. Let's say Jordy Nelson drops that ball. I don't think anybody's giving him that hard of a time because, okay, you dropped it. That's your job. But Bostic almost made kind of a hero play. And I don't think that was going through his mind. I think he just things are going fast. Things are going fast. You're like, oh, my God, the ball's coming right at me. I got to grab it, because I'm not sure it's going to make it back to Jordy. But if you watch the replay, it's wow. Yeah, he honestly really screwed it up. And I feel bad for him. But
all I have to say is that people in Green Bay, Packers fans, they have to be very thankful for the Chicago Bears because were it not for Jay Cutler and his injury in the 2011 NFC Championship game, Packers would be right now, 0 for 4 of their last NFC title games? So they keep on losing these things. 0 for 4, 0 for 5.
Your Hayes' recollection of that is strange because Jay Cutler's really going to bring him back in that game? I mean, Caleb Haney.
It was a 7-point game. It was a 7-point game, and he was hobbled.
Oh, okay. They lost. I don't know that you could just say Jay Cutler stays healthy. You're definitely
that was not a close game.
But they screwed up some games. There's no question about that.
Well,
the Giants get really
spin it forward. Frank, your deadline story was great in which you focus on how this is going to stick with Green Bay for a long time. What do you see as the immediate future for Green Bay based on this? Obviously, they're talented enough to be back, but this is the kind of loss that's going to haunt the team right until they actually win a full Super Bowl.
And even if you win a Super Bowl, that's what a couple people tweeted at me like, it's ridiculous to say they'll never get over this. You win 3 Super Bowls in a row, and at some point, in all that celebration, you're going to say, damn, we could have had 4. You're never going to get over this. That's what I mean, is that Green Bay could win a Super Bowl next year, and they're not going to get over that loss because it should.
I completely agree with you with this, and I know people love when I make NHL references on this show, but if the Blackhawks win the Stanley Cup this spring, I'm still going to think about that Game 7 loss to the Los Angeles Kings and think it could have been
another one. You're never getting it back. And Aaron Rodgers, if let's say they win the Super Bowl next year, and I'll get to Warren Moon in a second. He had great quotes about this that I didn't even use. Let's say Aaron Rodgers, they win a Super Bowl next year. It's always going to be like, wow, well, okay, so now he's got 2. Well, he could have had 3, and not many guys have 3, and it puts him in a different category. I mean, just change it. You're never getting that game back. And they had it won, and they blew it. They just totally blew it. Now, with the Packers, doesn't mean the Packers can't rebound. I mean, when I went to, Warren Moon is always in the Seattle locker room, and I'm very happy I got to catch up with him because he was great about what it's like to blow a game like that. And even he said, you never, ever get over it. He said, I asked him, do you think about it how often do you think about it? And he kind of joked. He said, well, I haven't thought about it today yet. And, and obviously I brought it up to him, but it's obvious he thinks about it constantly. But the next year, that was their, the Football Life documentary, Houston 93, I believe it was. They documented they won 11 games in a row. They went into the playoffs as a heavy favorite. They bounced back. But that's not what I mean. I mean that this is going to linger in our minds of what could have been forever. And there's no guarantee they'll ever will be back. The Packers, who knows? The Chicago Bears or the Detroit Lions or even the Minnesota Vikings could end up being that 13-3 surprise team. Packers missed the play. You just never can guarantee you're ever going to be back in that spot.
On the flip side, the Patriots lost a really bad game against the Colts in the 2006 season when the Colts went on to win their only Super Bowl under Peyton Manning. So do you think, it is, I can see the other side saying you can get over it, right? I mean, but that also assumes that the Packers and Rodgers put together 10 years like the Patriots have. But that said, the Patriots still haven't won since 2004. So
right. It's possible, and I don't mean that they can't win it next year because the Packers could, but that's always going to be in the back of their mind that they blew this game and this season and this chance at a Super Bowl because if they win that game, honestly – Packers favored over Patriots? I mean, we'd at least be saying this Packers team went into Seattle, Aaron Rodgers 2 weeks, get healthy. I mean, they would have had a good shot to win a Super Bowl, and they totally, absolutely blew it.
Before we get off this, one more example. Aaron Boone beats the Red Sox in 2003. You might have written the same thing, right? I can't believe I'm actually defending Packers fans here. But...
What the heck is wrong with you?
I'm sure if you bring up the 2003 Red Sox to a real hardcore Red Sox fan or anybody who's on that team, they're going to shake their head. They're not going to be like, who cares? We won in 2004. You know?
Well, Frank, let me follow that up, though. I mean, there's a difference between losing because you have a couple of bad plays and losing because of the coaching decisions, as Kevin alluded to earlier on. How much of this can we attribute to Mike McCarthy, and how difficult will that be for them to get over that in the future?
He deserves some blame, I think. I mean, he got really conservative. You kicked 3 field goals on 4th and short. I thought the one that really bothered me was when they kicked a field goal from the half-yard line. I mean, let's say you don't get it against that great Seahawks defense, and you might not. Well, they're back at their own half-yard line. I mean, it's just such a, I don't want to say low risk, but you're going to get that more often than not. And those are huge 4 points to just leave out there. You can't kick 18-yard field goals and expect to win a game like that. But then again, that's the same team that was up 16-7 with 3 minutes to go. You could also do the flip side and say, well, he coached it just right until the last 3 minutes when they just blew it, So there's blame to go all around in a game like this, but yes, and you could go back to the coaching decisions, getting conservative play calling in the second half. It seemed like they really thought at some point, we got our 16, our defense is playing great, let's just not screw it up. And, you always know how that story ends.
Yeah. So Mike McCarthy, at what point would he run into trouble in Green Bay in terms of job security?
I really don't think ever. Not ever, but he would have to have a few bad years. I mean, he's had results. Whether we want to credit him or Aaron Rodgers, I don't know. But he's had.
Yeah. We've had that discussion on the podcast at length before.
Yeah,
it's saying that Mike McCarthy doesn't get the respect he deserves, and I think he proved yesterday is why that is. So
I'll tell you too that I mean the scene being there was so different because. I mean, when Kerr scored, I know I got to file right away and get down to the locker room, but I took a minute and just watched everything. And I've never seen a crowd react like that. I don't think I've seen a sideline react like that, just pouring onto the field and celebrating, just going absolutely nuts. And then we've all been in losing locker rooms, and they're not comfortable. They're kind of weird to be in, and that was the weirdest. It was so quiet. Wow. And it was just so – guys were just glazed looks and just heads down and – everybody just a total state of shock, where I never heard I wrote about the lead of that story today from the locker room is literally a conversation never got above, it was quieter than what I'm talking right now. Nobody spoke louder than normal conversation here. It was just surreal. And then Bostic, if you feel so bad about what happened and, I mean, I hate to bring this up, but 2 questions of players. Is this your toughest loss as a Packer? Oh, no.
Talk about what you feel right now.
Come on. I mean, but it was a hard locker room to be in because nobody – what can these guys say? I mean, they're devastated. It's one of those moments of when – Mike Daniels, their defensive lineman's giving the same answer over and over. I didn't feel like he was doing that to be passive-aggressive. I just felt like he just had no idea what to say. And Julius Peppers kind of did the same thing. Just because, what are you going to say? What could you possibly say after that game? It's just the flip side of that game. I mean, it was just to watch the different emotions go through that game. And it was a flawed game. I don't think it was great from beginning to end, but it was one of the greatest games I've ever been to. And I've been to a few.
That's crazy. We've had a good run of NFC title games. I hope it keeps up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Second game not as fun. I feel like nobody was into it. You watch Twitter, everyone was just exhausted. I mean, sure Patriots and Colts fans were into it and super plugged in, but after Seattle and San Francisco, it was just like, all right, just kind of play it through. And the Patriots kind of took care of things. You never really had to get too worked up over it. Kind of played out like we thought. Although I did say I thought the Colts had a better chance of winning this weekend, and that turned out to be very wrong. But I think we picked Patriots and Seahawks across the board. So good for us for going out on that one.
Way to pick that chalk there.
Thanks for the Seahawks for saving us.
Real quick comment about the Colts is that I was doing radio, Yahoo Sports Radio, the other day before I left, and I said it's fine for the Colts to go in and lose because they're still building. This is not their time yet. I think everybody knew that. But what they can't do is just get destroyed by the Patriots again, because then you really start to question how good you are. And then they went and got destroyed by the Patriots. They got absolutely just body slammed. I mean, they were never really in that game. They looked terrible most of the game, and you wonder where their psyche is if they're ready to take that next step. Just because when you lose like that and you've lost like that over and over to the big dog on the block, where is your psyche? Hey, we're right there, or is it? Wow, we got such a long way to go. I thought that it was a little disappointing for them to lose like that.
Yeah, the Patriots have rolled up something like 113 points on the Colts in the last 3 games. And obviously...
and Luck has looked terrible.
Yeah, Luck has looked terrible, and the path to the Super Bowl is going through Foxborough for the foreseeable future. So, yeah, if the Colts are going to be anything other than just a cute playoff team, they've got to figure that out.
So this is kind of crazy, and Jay, you and I actually started a debate show this morning in Yahoo Sports. Over the next 2 weeks, look for it and beyond. But we're going to have 6 different episodes of different Super Bowl debates. We started off today with, does Tom Brady need a Super Bowl win to cement his legacy? You can go check that out on our NFL page. But you know what's crazy? I mentioned in there, I said, look, they have a long way to go. It's a tough game against Seattle. They could win a 4th Super Bowl here. But after watching it last night, do you see the sun setting on the Patriots and the AFC? He could win a 5th or 6th with the way things are going right now.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, we think about like Brady's basically the same age as Peyton Manning. And then watching those guys in the last couple of weeks, it's like, wow, Brady's still got a long way to go. He's not slowing down. How long do you think Brady could play at this level? Really? I mean,
yeah. Did you guys read that great article Did you read that great article about Brady in Sports Illustrated by Greg Bishop, and it was all about his diet and his workout plan and his workout center that he has there in Foxborough. And he just talks about, hey, I'd like to play until I'm 50 years old. And obviously, that's a little far-fetched, but you look at Tom Brady and the way he's able to scramble out of a pocket and go for a first down and compare him to Peyton Manning, and it's not even the same thing. You know, it's like...
he looks live and he's seeing the ball, everything well, and he's. I mean, he doesn't have 4 neck surgeries. I mean, that helps him.
Yeah.
He's stayed relatively healthy other than the ACL. It's crazy. And I did, I've been very strongly that I think Manning's the best quarterback of all time. But, and I know it's a team game. It's not just a quarterback who wins and loses a Super Bowl. But if he does win another one with the Patriots, wins a 4th ring, I think you do have to, at that point, just say, yeah, he's past Manning. I can't argue it anymore. How could you?
I think so, too.
Well, and
he says he's only had 1 concussion, which is crazy. He does these like puzzles and these mind exercises that he says works against that. It's a really cool article if you want to go check it out.
Looking forward, I mean, you figure that he can play at the high level for at least 3 to 4 years. What other quarterback in the AFC right now, with the exception of Luck, is on any kind of arc to challenge him at this point?
No one.
No one. Yeah, no one. I mean, really, I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, I mean, if I'm going out on a limb, I guess I could say Ryan Tannehill. Or, I mean, Ben's still playing really, really well. He's not slowing down, I don't think. Flacco, maybe. I don't know. I mean, you're right. I mean, who's...
And none of those people you mentioned, they're a step below him, and none of them have the organization that the Patriots do. And that's not a slight against the Ravens or the Steelers.
And it doesn't seem like it we talk about, with coaches, this happens a lot where the game just passes you by. You don't reinvent yourself. You don't really. But, boy, Belichick looks just as good coaching now as he did 13 years ago when they 13 years ago.
And people are still not catching up to him. He ran that funky 4 offensive lineman set last night. They knew it was coming. They heard it announced over the PA, and they still couldn't catch up to it.
And you hear, obviously I talk a lot about Greg Cosell, the guy, our NFL Films guy. I talk to every week for the stories we do with him. And it's fascinating to hear him talk about just breaking down the Patriots film. They reinvent themselves all the time, almost every week. There's something, new wrinkles. They just play certain things a different way, stuff that we don't realize just watching, TV for 3 hours on Sunday. And it's this chess game that Belichick's just better than everybody at. He really is. I mean, I know they cheated and Spygate and now the balls thing, and I'm so sick of that already. But he's a great coach. He's another guy, a lot on the line in a Super Bowl. If he wins another Super Bowl, it's like, well, how can you say he's not the best coach of all time? I mean, you at least have a really good argument there.
Tom Brady has 8 different number 1 receivers over the course of his career, which is insane. And only one of them really strikes out and hits you, and that's Randy Moss.
Do we count Gronkowski?
He's obviously a Hall of Fame talent.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame talent. I don't know if he's going to have longevity, but he's a Hall of Fame talent. So he'd be the other one.
Hall of Fame dancer, that's what I said.
But still. It really is crazy. One of the debates that we did was Joe Montana versus Tom Brady is the best Super Bowl quarterback ever. I won't say who Jay or I picked, but who would you pick in that one, Frank?
I mean, if it's just Super Bowl, they got to go Montana. I hate to do this, but Brady's lost a couple, right? I mean, he didn't play. He didn't play great against the Giants in at least the first one because he was hurt. But yeah, I mean, Joe Montana in Super Bowls is just Super Bowls. We're not talking about their whole career. Yeah, Joe Montana's probably the greatest Super Bowl player of all time.
Does a Super Bowl win this week for Brady? Say he goes and throws a dominating win. Does that change the
touchdowns? Sure.
Does that change the spectrum?
Well, that would tie them in Super Bowls 4-4.
Yeah, and then everybody's always going to say, "Well, Joe never lost," and it's true. I mean, it is true. He never did lose. So, and he was just so down, never throwing an interception in a Super Bowl. I think Brady would have to get to 5 to, and he might. Brady would have to get to 5 to pass Montana. I think in just a historical, the way we view those guys.
All right, so here's the deal.
Joe got to play the Bengals twice.
Yeah.
That's my trump card.
It doesn't count. The professional golf went and Tiger-proofed courses to keep Tiger Woods from winning. It didn't work at all. What the hell can the NFL do to Brady and Belichick-proof this game?
Don't deflate the balls, I guess. That's what you got to do. Keep the balls at a proper air pressure. It's crazy. And that's the crazy thing, too, about Brady and Belichick is that now we've had 13, if coaches have had 13 years, to break these guys down and figure out a weakness, right? I mean, that's what happens in the NFL. Somebody's good right away. You get these NFL coaches that break down film, and they pick apart your weaknesses, and you come back to earth a little bit. And nobody's done it. I mean, the most you could argue is Rex Ryan has kind of made it tough on them, with his defenses. But I don't know. I think that I think you can make the argument that they're the best coach-quarterback combo of all time, right? Or could we say Walsh and Montana?
Maybe Walsh and Montana, but with them, the argument is always that they had Jerry Rice there, that they've always had the same weapons. The fact that Belichick's cold-bloodedness when he goes and takes a guy and knows exactly when to ditch him, I think that's what separates him not only from other coaches but from other human beings, and it keeps the Patriots winning.
You know what struck me is that, when Brady redid his contract, and it's basically kind of just, it was moving some money around, but it basically means he can get cut. And some people were like, oh, Belichick's a cold-blooded guy, he's going to cut him this offseason. Yeah, okay, you're going to cut him. I'll show him all the signs that this was like after they'd won like 10 in a row. It's not like this is September 29th and people are saying, this is after they had gone on this winning. Oh, now cold-blooded Belichick's going to cut Brady because he can't. No, I don't think that's going to happen, folks.
You never know.
I mean, Belichick's going to stick it out with this guy.
It might happen. It might happen just to save a few bucks, and he'll go and swap in a new quarterback.
I do wonder, and this isn't. I don't think a conversation really matters for 2 years, 3 years, but I wonder if Brady would be the one kind of blind spot guy for Belichick, where if you think about if you're just a human being, and Bill Belichick has shown that on and off through the years that he's a human being, how could you not have a little bit more for that guy than your typical, like, we're going to dump Lawyer Malloy when we know. I mean, okay, whatever. Tom Brady has been with you for now 9 AFC championships, 6 Super Bowls, right? This is the 6th one. How could you not have kind of I'm gonna ride this thing till the wheels fall off? I don't care if this is what we've always done.
He's gonna shed one of those Native Americans looking at a pile of trash tears. Just one thing what he's doing at the press conference.
Like let's say in 2016, at the end of the season, Brady pulls a Manning against a Colts type of game, and everybody's like, "Wow, he's really done." I wonder what Belichick would do. I wonder at that point if he could cut ties. I don't know that he could. I couldn't if I was Bill Belichick and all Tom Brady's done for me and all the battles we've been in together. I couldn't do it, but maybe Belichick can. I don't know.
You don't think they'll go out together?
I kind of do. Yeah, I do think at some point. I think that's just perfect, right?
Just guns blazing, Lethal Weapon style.
Yeah, and Belichick, he's a really, really smart guy. Obviously, he knows that. Let's say he comes back with Garoppolo and they go 4-12 for 2 years, which I don't think will happen, but whatever, could. Then everybody in his legacy will say, well, look what happened when he didn't have Brady those 2 years. It's stupid, but that's what people will say.
Aren't Carroll and Belichick the two oldest coaches in the NFL?
It might be.
I think that's true.
I know Carroll's surprisingly old. Like you're around Pete Carroll and you think he's like 45. I mean, he's really he's a crazy dude.
Yeah,
he's really
he's 63 years old. It's kind of
you wouldn't guess that if you were just around Pete Carroll for a week and had no idea. You'd guess he's mid 40s. Like he looks young.
He's older than Belichick. He's older than Belichick. So I don't know who. I don't think anyone else knows.
Is that right? Wow.
I think that's true. Let me see if I can.
Could be. It could be.
Quick Yahoo search.
Exactly.
God, there's just such a great comparison between these two coaches in the Super Bowl because Pete Carroll just I love his approach because he basically just has fun. He's just even the media stuff last year. He was like, I got to do it. Why not enjoy it? Who cares? Like, who cares what I say? He didn't say anything disrespectful. He's not stupid. And his players aren't stupid to say things disrespectfully, but him and his players are basically like, let's have fun with this thing. Let's be who we are. This is just who we are. We're going to enjoy the process. And then you got Belichick, obviously, who just he probably puts more effort into being a curmudgeon than he would just being himself. Like if you watch like the Football Life, the two-parter with him, he does have he has charisma. He just never shows it, obviously, in public settings. But it's a great comparison between these two guys.
Real quick, I apologize to old codger Tom Coughlin, who is much older than this gentleman. So. Second and third oldest coaches in the NFL.
Frank, you hit on something that we will be obviously chewing over for the next couple of weeks. All of the many, many storylines. Real quick, which is the one that you're looking forward to hearing
about? Marshawn Lynch. I'm done. I'm already done. I'm checking out. Eric Edholm will
I've got the assignment list right here, and we're pinning you to Marshawn Lynch the entire time.
Embedded on Marshawn duty.
I could do anything and everything on Marshawn Lynch as a player because he's awesome to watch. I mean, he's so much fun to watch. But oh my God, the outrage from the media that's coming next 2 Tuesdays from now on Media Day. And him going back in the corner and talking to Deion Sanders again. And, oh, God, I'm so not looking forward to all that. Ugh, no, thank you.
Well,
Standing nine deep and just to hear Marshawn Lynch say nothing at a table. Like,
yeah.
I'll take your spot.
It's so crazy, too, this whole Seahawks Lynch media thing. Because one thing we really don't mention a lot on the Seahawks is that locker room has more personality than any I've been around, really. There's a million guys to talk to. It's not like, the Patriots locker room stinks. The Patriots locker room really does. Like, everybody knows, like, I'm going to get in trouble if I say the wrong thing, so nobody likes to talk, at least every time I've been in their locker room. But the Seahawks locker room is awesome. But we talk about the one guy who doesn't want to talk. It's like, oh, okay, we could go talk to Michael Bennett. He's going to say we're the greatest defense of our era. We're the 85 Bears.
Doug Baldwin just being a complete jerk and saying, no one believes in us. Get the hell out of here.
Okay, that's the thing. I understand everybody gets motivated in different ways. So whatever. Somebody's got to create chips on your shoulder. Nobody has said more nice things about the Seattle Seahawks over the last year or so than the national media, and I'm sure the local media. This is a dominant Super Bowl champion who came back, and yes, they were 6-4, but I don't think anything unfair was said about them at 6-4. Like, they were a 6-4 football team. And then they rolled off these 8 straight wins, counting the playoffs, and everybody was saying how great they are, they're back, they're down. And Doug Baldwin, if people haven't seen this rant after the game, he's just going crazy about it. Nobody respects the Seahawks, and everybody must have written them off at 16 zip. Well, yeah, it's 16 zip, dude. It's tough to come back from that. And it was so strange because of all the teams, the Seahawks get more love than anybody, I think.
I would say.
I'll say I was really interested to see how all of those bandwagon Seahawks fans were going to react to a loss like that. That would have been really
They
fascinating.
friggin' left early. We saw that.
Every team has bandwagon fans. I think Seahawks.
Yeah, but man, Seattle's up there. Seattle.
I don't know. I think the Seahawks.
Yes. Yes. Hey, let me ask you real quick. We haven't talked a lot about Russell Wilson just because that game was so great. So many different things happened. So I don't think there's been a lot of national discussion. If they lose that game, we're looking at Russell Wilson through a much different light. Where do you think he is now? Because obviously he, Doug Baldwin, and Jermaine Kearse were set up to be the GOATs of that game, and they ended up being the heroes of that last drive. So do you just move past this and say, okay, that was an anomaly or what?
I think he saved it at the end. You got to get credit for that. He engineered a couple 3 drives, scoring drives, and the pass to Baldwin was a great pass. They run that play a lot, and he just put it right on the money, dropped it in the bucket, and then the pass to Kearse was unbelievable. I mean, Kearse made a great play with Tramon Williams just draped on his back. But Wilson made such a great pass. He was terrible before the last 5 minutes. At the point Morgan Burnett catches that ball, I don't know what his rating was, but it wasn't good. It was a 0 in the first half, which is almost impossible to do. He was awful in that game until then. But that's what it is. I mean, this is the beauty of sports is that Brandon Bostic blows an onside kick, and Russell Wilson, we're talking about him in a completely different way, even though he had nothing to do with it. And I mean, at some point, if you're Russell Wilson, if you're talking about Russell Wilson's legacy, if at the end of his 3rd season, he has beaten a Peyton Manning-led team and a Tom Brady-led team to win 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, he's already in the Hall of Fame discussion. I hate to be hyperbolic about it, but why wouldn't we start thinking about this that way? You have to. I mean, if he's 3 years in and he's even with a great, great team around him, you don't have a great offensive cast around him, and if you win 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, you got 2 rings. At that point, it's the narrative really starts to pick up with Russell Wilson from a historical standpoint, which is kind of crazy how young he is. But we've given guys a lot more credit for a lot less results than Russell Wilson would have if he wins this one.
Now we've talked though about, or we will talk in the future about this, but giving Bill Belichick 2 weeks to look at Russell Wilson. Do you think that the flaws that he showed yesterday and that he's shown this season are they characteristic, or was it just a bad game?
I think that more than him looking at Russell Wilson, they look at how the Packers play them. They spied him a lot. They didn't let him run a lot. But I think with Belichick, it's more how can we take away what their weakness, almost attack their weaknesses, which is probably their receivers. I mean, they don't have a game breaker. Everybody in the 3rd quarter, early fourth, was tweeting about, oh my God, the Seahawks need a receiver in the offseason. That's true, it is. And so I think Belichick, more than taking out Russell Wilson, I think he's going to just attack what they don't do well and just completely nullify all that and kind of prey on their weaknesses a little bit.
Then on the flip side, just the great storyline that I'm looking forward to is Gronkowski versus that Seattle secondary. That's just going to be awesome.
Gronk versus Chancellor, and I mean, Gronk is just he is such a force of nature, and I've said it earlier in the season. I'll say it a million times. I'll probably be tweeting about this 15 times over the next couple weeks. Yeah. Rob Gronkowski is the best tight end I've ever seen. There's no comparison to him. We talk about Tony Gonzalez played for a really, really long time, and he's great for a really, really long time. But Rob Gronkowski's best receiving seasons are better than Tony Gonzalez's best receiving seasons, and Rob Gronkowski's one of the best blockers at tight end you're ever going to find. I mean, he's just a dominant force when he's healthy, and he just changes. He's the only tight end I've ever seen that kind of changed entire teams' outlook, because all the eulogies that were written about the Patriots on September 29th, the one wild card was Rob Gronkowski wasn't healthy. When he got back to 100%, the entire season changed for the Patriots. No other tight end in history has ever had that effect on a football team.
Yeah. So we should probably make picks here, and I don't want to hold ourselves to the picks, but just
early.
It was released as a pick'em last night. I don't know where the line has moved since then.
Not much. I looked either early or last night. It was still net -1 type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not going to hold anyone to their pick here. But what's your first gut instinct? Who's going to win on February 1st in Glendale?
Mine was Seahawks, mine was the Patriots. That waffle.
That's a hell of a waffle there.
No, mine was the Patriots just because I think the extra week helps Belichick a lot, and I think the Seattle offense showed some warts yesterday that they're going to exploit. This Patriots team's really good. I mean, I got a bunch of emails today saying, "Oh, well, the Patriots just ran up against a really bad team." No, they made the Colts look bad. They made them look really bad. This is a fantastic Patriots team on both sides of the ball, and I think they get it done.
Yeah, I'll go with Seahawks by 3. Same deal. I don't think that the Seahawks have the same defensive problems that they had yesterday. I think they're able to move the ball better, but it's going to be right down to the wire.
You say they had this defensive problems. They still limited the Packers to 5 field goals and touchdowns.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah. So my gut reaction was the Seahawks, but I'm a little wary because of Sherman being banged up, Earl Thomas being banged up. I'm sure they'll probably be fine in 2 weeks, but I'm a little wary. And I think that the defense can just really slow down the Patriots enough. But I reserve the right to change that pick once I dig through the numbers some more, because I think this might be the toughest to predict. This might be the toughest to predict Super Bowl ever.
That's a really good question. Last year was pretty tough too. Yeah, not a lot of people go back and look at the predictions, and I don't think a ton of people picked the Seahawks. The Broncos were favored.
You did. I know you picked the Seahawks. I picked the Broncos. I don't know what Jay picked.
I think that I went with the Broncos last year just because of the offense. I thought the offense beats defense, but was not the case.
Ooh, it was not. So I'm so happy at everything that happened to lead up to this point, that we've got this Super Bowl, because it's a great matchup. It really is going to be. I hope it's a great game. I hope it's just as good as that NFC title game yesterday, because I'm really.
Yeah, last year was a letdown, to say the least.
Last year, the funny thing is, I think I've talked about this months and months and months ago, is everybody, this is my first Super Bowl I've ever covered, was last year, and a lot of people who I know were like, that's a bummer, your first Super Bowl sucked. Honestly, it was very interesting, because it was so dominant. It was, and that might not make sense, it might not, but just watching it, and as a writer, thinking about storylines and stuff, it was interesting how great the Seahawks were that day. I mean, that was a great performance. It just wasn't a two-way performance.
It's not a great game to watch. It's a good game. It was a great game to write about, because it was such a definitive win, and it made your job as a writer easier, but also more interesting, I think. Because
it's unbelievable for a 43-8 game that it was interesting. But I wasn't like, wow, that game sucked. I was like, wow, that was really crazy how well the Seahawks played. I just don't see that happening this time.
Well, it was like the Bears winning Super Bowl 20. It was a dominant win, but it was an interesting team. The first Super Bowl for a franchise. We were doing a list of the worst. Yeah, we were doing a list of the top 5 worst Super Bowls for our debate series, and we didn't talk about Seattle over Denver. We didn't talk about the Bears over New England, just because of the two teams that were involved and what they meant. So,
like that Ravens-Giants game is the one that stands out to me as the worst.
I think that might have been what we had. I don't think we actually used that in our deal, but
because it was
that was on there. The first one was 55-10.
55-10.
49ers over the Broncos. We had Ravens, Giants. We had 49ers over the Chargers. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because people might be laying bets on this.
Damn it!
Well, you
got 60% of it. Try and get.
I think that if it's one of those things where the Patriots or Seahawks kind of blow this game open, which I don't see happening, but I think it would be a little bit interesting in just that, because then we're talking about there's so much on the line, kind of dynasty-wise here too. These are two random teams we're seeing. This is either the New England Patriots win their 4th Super Bowl, Brady and Belichick, and it's almost like a Spurs thing at that point, where the first one came at the end of the 2001 season, the second one comes, or the last one comes, maybe not the last one, but this one comes at the end of the 2014 season. That's unbelievable. It is unbelievable that they could do that, and that they're in a position to do that. But then you got the Seahawks. If they beat the Patriots in this game, they've won 2 in a row. We're talking about them in a totally different way. So just a lot on the line in this game. I'm really excited. I'm already looking forward to it.
Hey, Frank, I'm going to throw a stats question that you may or may not, a roster question that you're not going to know off the top of your head. But
sure.
How many players have been on more than even 2 Patriots Super Bowl teams besides Brady? I mean, can you even tell?
I heard last night that I think the only guys left are Brady and Vince Wilfork from the last Super Bowl team. I might be wrong about that, but Wilfork was like a rookie on that team. So I think a lot of guys won 3 because
Super Bowl title team, you should say.
Yeah, they were all
Super Bowl
close.
Championship team, yes. I think a lot of the Patriots won multiples because it happened in 01, 03, and 04, and there just wasn't a ton of roster turnover. But from 04 to 13, it's basically just Brady and Belichick, which is it's just unbelievable. I mean, and it's not like they dipped. They've basically been a great team for 14 years now, 13 years, whatever. It's just it's a phenomenal sports story.
What was their biggest personnel misstep over that 14 years?
I think some of it was, like drafting. They've had some bad drafts. I mean, drafting Lawrence Maroney in the first round and whatnot. I think that if you're looking at something, it was not getting Brady enough receiver help through the years. I mean, that we talked about. I mean, the only number one receiver is knocking your socks off is Randy Moss, and maybe Gronk if you count him. But, the fact that they've never gone out and gotten a Des Bryant type, who you just, or even a Jordy Nelson type, really, that just as an elite guy to go to an elite quarterback is probably the one thing that you wonder if they would have.
We left out Wes Welker before our mentions of the number one receiver, so Wes Welker definitely belongs in there.
But he's a different type of receiver. He's different. I mean, but I think if there's one, I don't know if there's one glaring, oh my God, I can't believe they did this. But just the fact that they didn't do great by Brady at receiver probably is the one they regret.
Crazy. This is gonna be awesome. I'm pumped. So.
I am too, man. It's just great. It's fun time. That game yesterday got me so pumped. I know that and this is probably true in many circles, but the stereotype people have of sports writers is pretty miserable people, and kind of we are. But I'm telling you, man, I was sitting next to
I'm a happy man.
I was sitting next to our old friend Doug Farrar, and we kind of at some point it was going into overtime. We both just said to each other, you know what? This is so awesome. This is great. We're here. How lucky did we get that this is our job? And I still feel that way. It was one of those games. It was so cool to be at and experience and write about. That it's just like, wow, this is why I do this. This is really cool. This is really fun. And I kind of feel this way about this upcoming Super Bowl too, of like, yeah, bring it on. This is why we get into this business.
If that moment didn't end in a bro, if that moment didn't end in a bro hug, I'm gonna be really disappointed.
It did not end in a bro hug.
And I was going to say, there's some dude probably behind you griping that this overtime was going to mean that he was going to miss his dinner appointment.
Yes, there probably was. There are a lot of miserable, in sports writing, so that's fine, but it's not like that for everybody, I don't think. I mean, you guys loved watching it from afar. I was there. I loved watching it. I'm sure it was just a great sporting event. It was awesome. And I
didn't have any skin in the game, and I don't want to say I had butterflies, but I had like energy coursing through my veins, like a nervous energy almost.
I was telling Kaduk, I was at Buffalo Wild Wings, Frank. I was channeling you. Yep. And sweet Jesus, I mean, what do you even eat there that doesn't gag you every after 17 weeks?
Salad, man. Order a salad.
Yeah.
You're the stereotypical sports writer.
But even the salads are deep fried.
Do they have clam chowder at BW3?
Had to go there. There. By the way, my trip to Seattle is a lot better from the stomach standpoint of everything.
What'd you have to eat?
I ate at the stadium, had a salad. I ate pizza after the game. It was not bad. It was,
I heard Seattle's famed for their pizza. Good job.
They ordered pizza. They ordered pizza post game. What am I gonna do? Go out, get sushi?
This is so inside baseball, but when they order that pizza, if you've been at an event for a long, long time, and it's like 3 hours after the event is over, and there's nobody there, and then they bring in those stacks and stacks of pizzas. It's like someone coming bringing bread from heaven.
Oh yes, it was good too. I enjoyed it.
I was working in the Chicago office, and I had lunch, and then things got so busy that my dinner, I was in the break room, and I had a packet of turkey jerky, some potato chips, and then later I had a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So that was my glamorous night. And then it was the weekend and it was at night, so at one point like the heat was automatically programmed to go way down, and I had no way to turn it back up, so I was just sitting there freezing during the Colts Patriots game. So I had I went and got some ice water dumped on my head. I would have been able to replicate the conditions there at Gillette Stadium.
The glamorous life of sports writing.
Yeah. So anyhow, all right. I don't know what our schedule is for the rest of the week. We're hoping to get a couple of special guests who shall remain nameless for now. So look out for that. Those will pop up in the Shutdown Corner feed. We'll probably do one more podcast, and then if you remember last year, we did podcasts every weekday during the Super Bowl, and we found something to talk about.
There always is.
Imagine
Frank
that.
had to get up early and out of bed and all that stuff.
Our buddy Eric Edholm's going to be there. I will drag him kicking and screaming to this too, and we can have a fun little deal. It'll be great.
The nice thing is that you're in Pacific time, so you have to get up 3 hours earlier than you were doing it for the
thought about
for the Super Bowl last year.
I have thought about this. I'm not going to lie. The thought has gone through my head, and then that's when I had this curmudgeon stereotype sports writer thoughts in my head of, oh dear God, I'm going to have to get up at 4 a.m. to talk to these guys. But it's okay. It's okay. Riding a wave, boys. Right?
Phoenix is awesome. There's nothing better than Phoenix in January, February, and March.
This is so dumb, but I literally thought as I was at the airport today, and it's not bad here in Denver, actually. I thought at the airport today, oh my God, I can wear shorts next week. Like, that's what I thought. These are the thoughts that go through my head. Like, oh my God, I could wear shorts. I was excited.
It's wear shorts.
Yeah, wear shorts to media day.
I will wear the ugliest Hawaiian shirt I have and the ugliest shorts I have to go with it just to blend in with everybody else.
Check that out on Frank's Twitter. I'm sure I'll put a picture of himself on. Anyhow, we'll be back. This has been the Shutdown Corner Podcast. Leave us a good review. Recommend us to your friends. This is our favorite time of year. I am Kevin Kaduk. Frank Schwab and Jay Busbee. We'll see you next time.